Why can't I get any channels? What's wrong with this TV? It's worse than my old one. Spanish and English both use comparisons to say which of two people or things has less, more, or the same amount of a quality. Look at these examples of comparisons in Spanish.
Menos interesante. Más grande. Tan sabroso como.
Let's start with the first two examples. They're comparisons of inequality. You form these comparisons by putting más, which means more, or menos, which means less, before an adjective, an adverb, or a noun, and adding que after it. Atención! English has the ending er to make comparisons with short adjectives. Taller, nicer, and so on. In Spanish, you need to use más or menos que, as in más alto. Let's look at a couple of comparisons with adjectives.
Los bistecs son más caros que el pollo. Estas uvas son menos ricas que esa pera.
Here's a comparison with an adverb.
Me acuesto más tarde que tú.
Now let's look at two comparisons with nouns.
Juan prepara más platos que José. Susana come menos carne que Enrique.
If a comparison includes a number, you use de before the number instead of que.
Hay más de 50 naranjas. Llego en menos de 10 minutos.
To make comparisons with a verb, use más que or menos que after the verb.
Mis hermanos comen más que yo. Arturo duerme menos que su padre.
Now it's your turn to practice. ¿Qué tal? So, how did you do? Now let's talk about comparisons of equality. When making these comparisons with an adjective or an adverb, use tan before the adjective or adverb and como after it.
Estas uvas son tan ricas como aquellas.
To say as much or as many as something, use a form of tanto followed by a singular or plural noun and then como.
Yo probé tantos platos como él.
Atención! Unlike tan, tanto is an adjective, so it must agree in gender and number with the noun that follows it. Tan and tanto can also be used to emphasize rather than compare. In these cases, tan means so. Tanto and tanta mean so much. And tantos and tantas mean so many.
Tu almuerzo es tan grande. Comes tanto. Comes tantas manzanas. Preparan tantos platos.
To make comparisons of equality with verbs, put tanto como after the verb. Here, tanto doesn't change form.
Tú viajas tanto como mi tía. Ellos hablan tanto como mis hermanas. Sabemos tanto como ustedes. No estudio tanto como Felipe.
It's your turn. Estupendo. Ready to move on? Some adjectives have irregular comparative forms.
Bueno, buena, mejor, malo, mala, peor. Joven, menor, viejo, vieja, mayor.
When grande and pequeño refer to age, use the irregular comparative forms mayor and menor.
Grande, mayor, pequeño, pequeña, menor. Yo soy menor que tú. Nuestro hijo es mayor que el hijo de los Andrade.
But when they refer to size, use más que or menos que.
La ensalada de Isabel es más grande que esa. Pedí un plato más pequeño.
The adverbs bien and mal have the same irregular comparative forms as the adjectives bueno and malo.
Julio nada mejor que los otros chicos. Ellas cantan peor que las otras chicas.
¡Tanta información! So let's recap. You learned to make comparisons of inequality with más or menos and que. And you learned to make comparisons of equality with tan and como for adjectives and adverbs, a form of tanto and como with nouns, and tanto como with verbs. Finally, you learned the irregular comparative forms of some adjectives. Este programa va a ser tan interesante como el programa de la semana pasada. ¿Cómo hacer una ensalada?